He was a three-time Super Bowl champion with two different franchises. Was basically considered a handyman quarterback. No matter where he was wanted, he would fill that role either as a backup, a substitute, or a starter. Well, but Earl Morrall passed away in 2014 and left to mourn millions of fans and friends and colleagues over the years that he touched with his excellence of execution. Now, played in the NFL, get this, for 21 years, both as a starter and reserve. He started for six teams, most notably with the Colts and the Dolphins in their 1960s and 70s glory years. He became known as one of the greatest backup quarterbacks in NFL history, having served in capacity for two Hall of Fame quarterbacks in Johnny U and Bob Greasy. An injury United in '68 saw Morrall step in to start the season that saw the Colts do a 13-1 record, along with an MVP for the pivot. They saw them win their first NFL championships in 9 years before ineffective play in Super Bowl III cost him the banner and saw him bench for Unitas. Earl, 2 years later, Super Bowl V, came off the bench for an injured Unitas and kept the Colts in the game before they ultimately won in the last second field goal versus the Cowboys. In his first season with Miami in '72, he came off the bench when Greasy became injured early in the season, with Morrall winning all 9 starts. He started the first two playoff games, with Greasy playing in each game before being named a starter for Super Bowl VII, where the Dolphins completed the only perfect season in NFL history. Now, he first came to Metropolitan from Muskegon High School in his hometown when he led them to a state football championship in '51 and a state baseball title in '52, where he stole home. He attended MSU, where he played under head coaches Biggie Munn and Duffy Daugherty. He played 3 seasons for the Michigan State Spartans football team, leading them to a 9-1 record in the '55 campaign. He capped his senior year with a victory over the UCLA Bruins in the '56 Rose Bowl. Your typical big quarterback, 6'1", 205, could scramble, could hit the open man, but as the years went on, again, better as a backup. He also played baseball at Michigan State and also took the field in the Chicago World Series as a shortstop and third baseman. He was offered the opportunity to play pro ball, but chose instead to play on the gridiron. Now, in his more than 2 decades on the professional gridiron, he played for 6 different squads, starting with his rookie year in '56 as a first-round pick by the 49ers, and he was the second overall pick in the selections. He made appearances in the first 4 games before being slated to start the 5th contest of the year on October 28. In that, he went 7-12 for 148 with a TD and a pick. He started the next 3 games before appearing sporadically in 2 further games. In total, he went 38 for 78 with 621 passing yards with a TD and a tough 6 picks. On the punting side, he kicked 45 of them for 1,705 yards. He also would make occasional appearances as a punter in 7 seasons to total 106 for 3,995 yards with 1 block. On September 1657, he was traded along with guard by Mike Sandusky to the Pittsburgh Steelers in exchange for linebacker Marv Batuzak and 2 first-round draft picks. He would appear in all 12 games that year for the Steelers with 11 starts, helping them to a 6-6 record while throwing for 1,900 yards with 11 TDs to 12 interceptions. Despite the high cost of the transaction, the Steelers traded him just over a year later to the Lions in order to obtain future Hall of Famer, the great Bobby Lane. He started the first 2 games in the '58 season, both losses, before being traded to the Lions, for which he would appear sporadically in 6 contests. Morrall was with the Lions for the next 6 years, having his best season in '63, throwing for 24 touchdowns and more than 2,600 yards. The following year, he suffered a season-long shoulder injury. October 18 contests against the Bears, and you could pretty well get the writing on the wall there. After spending the offseason rehabilitating from his injury, he was dealt by the Lions to the Giants for Mike Lucci, who had been acquired from the Cleveland Browns. Darrell Deese and a draft pick, as well as part of a 3-team transaction on October 30, '65. The Browns obtained defensive back Eric Barnes from the Giants to complete the trade. And during his role during the Giants' rebuilding phase, he threw for 2,446 yards and 22 TDs that season, but after breaking his wrist in '66, found himself seeing only spot duty over the course of the next 2 years after the Giants acquired Hall of Famer Fran Tarkenton. He was then traded to the Colts for undisclosed draft choice on August 25th, 68. Butch Wilson was eventually sent to the Giants to complete the transaction 8 days later on September 2nd. Now, during the 68 Colts season, Morrall turned in the best performance of his career. As a replacement for an injured Johnny U, who had won league MVP the previous season, the veteran QB guided the Colts to a 13-1 record, 2,909 yards passing, and NFL high 26 TDs, all of which earned the league's most valuable player honors. The team won the NFL championship in a shutout victory, but were upset in the Super Bowl III against the Giants 13-7, where Morrall was taken out late for Unitas. He had a chance to redeem his past woes in Super Bowl V. With the Colts trailing 13-6 in the second quarter, he was tasked to step in for Unitas, who was knocked out of the game with a rib injury. He would go 7 for 15 while throwing a pick with 147 yards. However, a series of turnovers and luck, Greg Morton, his counterpart, went a terrible 12 of 16 for 127 yards, 1 TD and 3 interceptions, with the last two resulting in eventual Colt points. Morrall kept him in the game, and Jim O'Brien would kick a field goal from 32 yards out to give the Colts a 16-13 victory against the favorite Cowboys. His next chance at regular season starts was in 71, when he took the field for the last 9 games of the 71 season for the Colts, while appearing in one further game. He threw for 1,210 yards with 7 TDs and 12 interceptions, as the Colts went on to a 10-4 record, with Unitas handling the duties for the playoffs. Now, for the following year, another change of location. He moved to the Miami Dolphins, coached by Don Shula, who had managed Baltimore until 1970. After starting quarterback Bob Greasy was hurt during the October 15 win against the Chargers, he was asked to start for the team and went 8 for 10 for 86 yards with 2 touchdowns while Miami won the contest. With Miami at 5-0, he proceeded to start the 9 remaining games of the season, for which he would win all of them while throwing 11 touchdowns to 7 picks on 1,360 yards, as the team were buoyed mostly by his rushing attack, Mercury, Morris, Zonka, and Kick. Now, 2 of his starts had no touchdowns, while 2 others didn't have an interception. The 72 team achieved the first undefeated regular season in the NFL since 42. He started the divisional round game against the Browns and went 6 for 13 for 88 yards, while the Dolphins managed to win 2014, on the strength mostly of a block punt return by Charlie Babb, 2 field goals, and a Jim Kick touchdown. He started the AFC title game against the Steelers, going 7-11 for 51 yards while throwing a TD and interception. He was pulled later in the game for Greasy, while the Dolphins held on to win 21-17. Greasy would start Super Bowl VII, which resulted in a victory at the Super Bowl ring for the Dolphins. Overall, he filled in for 11 games for injured Bob Greasy, winning all of them. Together, Morrall and Greasy won 3 postseason games, including Super Bowl VII, to complete the only perfect season in NFL history at 17-0. Over the next 4 seasons, he would make occasional appearances in games, starting 3 combined times, while the Dolphins won another Super Bowl with Greasy at the helm. He eventually announced his retirement on May 2nd, 77. Until first Doug Flutie and then Vinny Testaverde, almost 30 years later, Morrall was the oldest quarterback to start and win a football game in the NFL. In those 21 seasons, he was part of 255 games, completing 1,379 passes for 20,809 yards and 161 touchdowns, with a 63-36-3 record as a starter. In 2015, Morrall, Greasy, and Dan Marino were voted to the 50 greatest players in the Miami Dolphins' 50-year history. Now, the question is, why is he in the Football Hall of Fame? Well, I think he deserves to be for longevity, the 3 titles, the MVP, and everything else. But I think politics worked against him. You just saw him, maybe some of the media saw him as an afterthought. Now, he made Pro Bowl appearances following the 57 and 68 seasons, and was NFL MVP in 68 and AFC MVP for 72. He led the league in passing in 68 and AFC in 72. Now, in 2018, the Professional Football Researchers Association named Morrall to the PFRA Hall of Very Good Class of 2018. So just the record: 56 San Francisco 1-3, 56 with Pittsburgh 6-5, 58 combined with Pittsburgh and Detroit 0-2, 59 Detroit 2-3, then 2-0, 4-2. No results in 62, then 4-5-1, 63, 3-0 in 64, 7-7 with the Giants in 65, then 1-5-1 in 66, no decisions in 68, 67. 68 with the Colts, 13-1. Baltimore went 1-0-1 in two decisions in 69. 1-0 in 1970 with Baltimore. Then 7-2 in Miami, 9-0, 0-1, 1-0, 1-0, and then no decision in 76. And ironically, ladies and gentlemen, 161 touchdowns and 148 interceptions, and a 73.8 passer rating. Now, the only year he was over 100 was in 1967 in spot duty. So in the playoffs, 4-1, 2-1 in 68. Obviously lost the Super Bowl. Miami in 72, 2-0, and unfortunately threw 7 interceptions in those times. Now, in retirement, he had a very interesting career. He became the quarterback coach at the University of Miami in 79. During his time there, he worked with Jim Kelly, Bernie Kosar, Vinny Testaverde, and Mark Richt. In 69, he was eventually elected to the Davie, Florida City Council and eventually became mayor for a time in 92. He ran for the Florida House of Representatives District 97 seat as Republican in 92. Unfortunately, in the Clinton wave, lost. Now, during an 89 interview, he was asked what it took to come off the bench and be an effective quarterback and team leader. His response was, when you get the chance to do the job, you have to do the job. That's all there is to it. Unfortunately, he passed away on April 25th, 2014 at his son's home in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He was 79. Now, after death, the examination of his brain disclosed that he had grade 4, the most serious stage of CTE, which is as a result of concussions. And I know for a fact that he took some really bad sacks in his career. He is one of at least 345 NFL players to be diagnosed after death with this disease, which is caused, again, by repeated hits to the head. So, stay tuned for this recap. Again, make sure it's all covered. San Francisco 56, Steelers 57-58, Lions 58-64, Giants 65-67, Colts 68-61, Dolphins 72-76, and QB coach in Miami from 79-82. Three-time Super Bowl champion, NFL champion, most valuable player, comeback player of the year in 72, twice All-Pro, two-time Pro Bowl, 57 and 68, NFL passer rating leader in 72, passing touchdowns leader in 68, Dolphins Walk of Fame, national champion 52, consensus All-American 55, first team All Big Ten in 1955. And I think he more than deserves the Hall of Fame, in my opinion, because he cost anybody that costs my Cowboys the Super Bowl just by coming off the bench deserves the kind of recognition. And he could have easily won four Super Bowls, but like I said, and it is what it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you're doing here with our vintage football tribute podcast, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. And I know there's a lot of people out there that like Earl. I liked him too. The only problem I had with Earl, basically, I always used to get him confused with Don Strock, because I was doing a podcast and I heard Rigo back and I was mentioning Don Strock, and I said Earl Morrall by accident, so I had to correct myself. So, ladies and gentlemen, have a good day, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Requests are always accepted, and as we like to say in Earl's backyard, go deep. Have a good one. Bye.